This week I am in Macau and I'm here on the hunt for 3 of Macau's best known bites. The first is the custard egg tart, the second is the pork chop bun, and the third is apparently Macau's national dish. Okay, now when you think of Macau, the first thing that comes to mind is probably the casinos, and that's understandable. The annual revenue from the gaming industry in Macau is about 7 times that of Las Vegas. So maybe actually Las Vegas should be called the Macau of the West. But consider this, the Portuguese have been in Macau since the 16th century. So compared to somewhere like Hong Kong, actually Macau has had a much longer history of urbanization and development. So I'm not here for the gaming and the casinos, I'm here to explore a little bit more about the history and a lot more about the food. So I'm going to head straight to the south side of Macau for the hunt of my first dish, the egg custard tart. Okay, so my first stop is Lord Stow's Cafe, where I've come to try the egg tart. Now, if you research into egg tarts in Macau, you know that the place you have to come is Calawan, and you have to come to Lord Stow's. Now, the funny thing though is that Lord Stow is from the UK, and he opened this place in, I think, 1989. But the Portuguese have been here for centuries, and the egg tart would have been around already before then. So what's the influence of Chinese and England and the Portuguese? So it turns out Lord Stow basically adapted the recipe that the Portuguese used to use for their egg tarts and added a bit of an English touch. And it went wild. And now anyone who wants egg tarts comes to this place. So that is how basically these 3 cultures have mixed to produce something like this, which is now spread all over Asia. So I think Lord Stow's now exists in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and even Japan. Let's go and see what all the fuss is about. Okay, the moment has come to try the famous Lord Stow egg tart. So nice, firm, crispy pastry. And I'm loving the caramelization on the top of the tart. Let's go in and have a bite. Look at that. Absolutely delicious. Lord John Snow. Lord Stow definitely knew what he was doing when he messed around with the recipe for these egg tarts. It's fantastic. Super creamy, custardy, absolutely crunchy, flaky pastry on the outside. Excellent. Okay, so the second thing I was going to have on my trip was Macau's most famous snack, the pork bun. Apparently you can get it everywhere, and since I was in this area already, Calawan, I've stopped by this place that has the pork bun. It's basically crusty bread with slabs of fried pork. I've got this here. I'm going to go to the local square to sit down and bite into this. Let's go. Okay, so I've been walking around this Calawan village in the southern part of Macau, and I have to say, not a casino in sight. It's absolutely stunning. You really do feel the flavor of Portuguese architecture and the mark that the Portuguese have left there. And I've just stopped off in this square in front of St. Francis Xavier's church, this beautiful yellow building. I thought it was a perfect place to eat my pork bun. It really is simply just slabs of fried pork and this crusty, almost baguette-like bread. The pork is surprisingly tender, really succulent. That definitely beats a McDonald's burger any day, I have to say. Just real slabs of meat. It's not ground or anything. Very simple, but very delicious. Okay, so actually this piece of food is really interesting in discovering a bit of the history of Macau, because I didn't realize actually the Portuguese have been here for about 500 years, since the 16th century. So of course you can imagine over all those hundreds of years there's a deep influence from the Portuguese culture here. So apparently this is based on a Portuguese similar food called the Bifana, which is again just bread and slabs of pork chops. So for me, again, as someone who lives in Asia, Macau is deeply fascinating. We're seeing what happens when such disparate cultures come together and how that influences what you see in the place as well as what you taste when you eat the local food. So this is the perfect street to have got lost in if I didn't already have a place that I needed to get to and a meal that I needed to have. There were so many delicious looking things down here. Oh well, this gives me a reason to come back to Macau, I guess. Onward with a hunt. Let's try this way. Craft market, wow, this looks interesting. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Found it! Okay, so I have made it here and I have ordered the national dish of Macau, which is African chicken. I am super intrigued as to how in Asia there is a place with Portuguese influence that has a dish called African chicken. So there are quite a few stories behind how this came about, but I think the one that I think is most believable is that in the 1940s and 50s you had many Portuguese servicemen who ended up settling in Macau, and they obviously took knowledge of a lot of the dishes they tried all over the world and brought it here to Macau with them. And some of those would have been people who would have served in Africa, specifically Southern Africa, and the peri-peri chicken they've adapted it to a Portuguese style, which then over the decades has also then been readapted with an Asian influence. So we've ended up with this dish that I'm about to tuck in and try. Oh wow, amazing. Okay, so here's my thoughts. It is so full of flavor. So in that sense, often Africans like food that is very, very, very full of flavor. We don't do bland stuff, I said before, with Nigerian foods. Very strong flavors. And I guess I do detect hints of the peri-peri style in there, and the chilies. So from my understanding, it's got some peanuts in it, different spices and chilies. This is absolutely delicious. I'm so pleased to have found this. I don't know if I've come across anything like this in Nigeria. I don't know if there will be places in Africa that do have it, but it's very, very good. Very tender chicken, very succulent. Very tasty. Goodness, this is honestly really delicious. And the style is really homely, so it's quite relaxed, very laid back, canteen style, local Macanese food. So my time in Macau is coming to an end, and it's been food inspirational I have loved all the dishes I came to find, from the African chicken yesterday at that restaurant Rickshaw. I now know how to pronounce it properly. It was worth it just to go and see the 103-year-old mother-in-law of the owner of the place. Absolutely fantastic. I love the pork bun, succulent meat inside of that crusty bun. And of course, we can forget Lord Stow's caramelized custardy flaky egg tarts. But there is one more place that I'm going to need to go to just before I get on the boat to go back to Hong Kong, and that is down this alleyway just here. And that place is Margaret's, which is a cafe that also are very well known for their egg tarts. Now the story goes that Margaret is actually Lord Stow's ex-wife, and she has set up her own equally famous in Macau egg tart cafe. Now I do wonder, did she become an ex-wife before or after she set up the cafe? That'd be interesting to find out. Well, I'm going to go in and compare Margaret's egg tarts with Lord Stow's and see which is the better. Okay, so the moment of truth. You know what? I don't think I could possibly decide. It'd be wrong to come between a husband and his ex-wife. You guys are just going to have to come to Macau yourself and make your own judgment. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Oh, dude. I've just put my suede shoes through a massive puddle of water. Anyway, all for the sake of getting the shot.